If you guys are interested in hearing more from me, make sure you check out my podcast that comes out every Tuesday on JB Radio. You can go to their website. I have it linked down in the description. You can also go to their YouTube channel and subscribe. My podcast comes out there as well. So if you guys want more from me, go check out my podcast and leave some good feedback. In today's video, we're going to be counting down 5 NHL players who I think must bounce back next season in order for their teams to take the next step. Starting off with kind of an obvious one, and that is Jonathan Drouin of the Montreal Canadiens. Everybody remembers that trade that sent Mikhail Sergachev to the Tampa Bay Lightning in exchange for Drouin, and this was a trade that kind of put a lot of pressure on Jonathan Drouin, as Montreal kind of expected him to come in and be their number one center. And obviously Montreal's not an easy market to play in. They're highly covered by the media. The fans and the media itself will rip you apart if you don't do well. And I don't think Drouin was ready to be a number one center in the NHL, as he kind of didn't have that pressure on him in Tampa Bay because he had so many other good forwards around him like Stamkos, Kucherov, Tyler Johnson, Andre Palat, and all those guys. So I think that's why he fit better and played a little better in the Tampa Bay Lightning organization than he did in his first year with the Canadiens. His career high was in the 2016-17 season with the Lightning, where he played 73 games and scored 21 goals and added 32 assists for 53 total points. And in this season, he looked really good, and the Tampa Bay Lightning decided, okay, we have enough good forwards, and we're going to work out a trade with the Montreal Canadiens to add to our defense core. And as of right now, it's looking like Tampa Bay has won that trade, as Sergachev has been amazing for the Tampa Bay Lightning. And in Drouin's first year with the Canadiens in the 17-18 season, he played in 77 games and only scored 13 goals and added 33 assists for 46 total points, which is 8 points less than he had the year before, and he did play in 4 more games. So Jonathan Drouin really does need to bounce back next year, and I think he's going to be more ready and handle the situation a little bit better next year for the Canadiens. So I'm excited to see what he can do. I think his potential is through the roof, and he's still a guy who I think eventually, if he maxes out his full potential, can put up 80 to 90 points in the NHL. So Jonathan Drouin still has a bright future, but in my opinion, he needs to have a bounce back season next year to prove to the Montreal Canadiens that he is their number one guy. Next up on the list is goaltender Jake Allen for the St. Louis Blues, and after he had a really good year in the 2016-17 season, there were really high hopes for the St. Louis Blues heading into this year, but it all just kind of fell apart as they missed out on the playoffs in the last game of the year against the Colorado Avalanche. Jake Allen did not play well. Carter Hutton pretty much stole the show there. But now with Carter Hutton being signed by a different team, by the Buffalo Sabres, and now Jake Allen, a fresh start, he knows he's going to be the number one goalie on opening night, and I think that he is going to bounce back next year, and I really do think he has to in order for the St. Louis Blues to get back into the postseason. They added a lot of good pieces, but this obviously doesn't all work if you don't get the goaltending. Like I said, his best year, he played in 61 games, went 33, 20, and 5 with a 2.42 GAA and a .915 save percentage, and then this past season he dropped that off to 59 games played, 27, 25, and 3 with a 2.75 goals against average and a .906 save percentage. And like I said, he's only 27, he still has a lot of years, he's in his prime, and I think he's a great goaltender and could potentially be a top 15, top 10 goaltender in the NHL when he's at his best. He did not show that this past season, but the St. Louis Blues, their fans, and even myself, I'm hoping that he can bounce back. I mean, he's a likable guy, and he's shown how good he can be, but this was just a really bad year for the Blues in general, and especially for Jake Allen. Next up is Nino Niederreiter of the Minnesota Wild, and I really think he's a vital part of this team, and if they want to take the next step and finally be a Stanley Cup contending team, he has to be on the top of his game. He's only 25 years old, so he still has a lot of time left in his prime and a lot of time to get stuff together. His career high, 82 games, 25 goals, 32 assists for 57 points, and even that, I think he can be better than a 57-point player. I think he's a guy we could see put up 70 points if he does play his best and max out his full potential. This past season did see him miss a couple of games due to injury, but even the games that he played in, I didn't think he played particularly well. He played in 63 games and had 18 goals and 14 assists for 32 points, so even if he played in all 82 games last year, he still wasn't on a pace to get 57 points, which was his recent career high. And like I said, Nino Niederreiter is an important part to this team. I'm sure the Minnesota Wild organization and their fans are sick of losing in the first and second round, and I think he has to be really fantastic, not only in the regular season so they can get a decent seeding and get home ice through the playoffs, but I do think that in the playoffs he also has to step up, because I mean, he's one of the best offensive players on this team. He's talented enough, in my opinion, to put up more than 57 points. So I'm expecting a big bounce back year next season from Nino Niederreiter, kind of like he has something to prove, and in my opinion he does, so I'm excited to see how he plays next year for the Wild. Next up is Ryan Strome of the Edmonton Oilers. He came over to Edmonton in a trade that sent Jordan Eberle over to the New York Islanders. He's only 24 years old. NHL.com has him listed as a center, but from what I've seen him play a lot of wing last year, so I'm not quite sure about that. I don't watch the Oilers too much. But his career high, he played in 81 games and had 17 goals and 33 assists for 50 total points. So he really did show what he can do. But in the 2017-2018 season, when the Edmonton Oilers really did need him to play well and produce good offensive numbers, he did play in all 82 games, but he only had 13 goals and 21 assists for just 34 points. And I think Ryan Strome is more than capable to be a 50 to 60 point scorer on a consistent basis. And playing with a guy like Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl, you don't have too much pressure on you to do all that well. But in my opinion, he's a vital piece, and they need more scoring than just them two big guns on the team. And I think if Ryan Strome can put up some decent numbers and be a fantastic player for the Oilers, we could see them get right back into the playoffs next season. But like I said, it all has to come into place. They got to get good goaltending, the defense score has to be better, and there's a lot of players on the Oilers that I could have picked on this list to bounce back, a couple of defensemen, but I did decide to go with Ryan Strome as he had more higher expectations for him coming in to the Oilers organization. I thought he was going to do better than 34 points because he really did show that back in, I think it was 2014, when he put up the 50 points with the New York Islanders. And like I said, he's only 24. He has a lot of time to really get back into the mindset of I can be a fantastic NHL player, and he really did show he could before. So I'm expecting a bounce back season next year, like Ryan Strome is going to come out and have something to prove for the Oilers. And the last player we're going to talk about in today's video is Thomas Tatar of the Vegas Golden Knights. Detroit traded him over to Vegas at the trade deadline for a first, second, and a third round draft pick. And this kind of is looking like one of the few mistakes that George McPhee has made so far as the general manager of the Las Vegas Golden Knights. But I do think Thomas Tatar can be better than he has been for the Golden Knights. I don't think he's a player that should be getting scratched, but obviously coming in, it kind of takes a while to integrate yourself into a lineup and get chemistry with players. He's only 27 years old. He's in his prime, so in my opinion, he's still got around 3 years left to be that 20 to 30 goal scorer that he used to be. His career high was 29 goals, and I think he can be a 30 goal scorer if he gets the right line mates. Like I said, career high, 82 games played, 29 goals, 27 assists for 56 points, and that was a really breakout year for Thomas Tatar, and he had high expectations after that. But in the 2017-18 season, played in 82 games split between the Red Wings and the Golden Knights, and he only had 20 goals and just 14 assists for 34 points. But next year, I think we're going to see that total up around 50 points again, just because I think he's too talented not to. I think he's too talented to be a player that's getting scratched on a nightly basis, which is kind of what was happening to him in the postseason. But obviously, like I said, it takes a while to get used to a new lineup, and I think we'll see great things from Thomas Tatar next season. I still don't think Vegas was smart giving up a first and a second and a third round pick for Tatar, as Detroit ended up getting Joe Veleno with that draft pick. I thank Vegas for that every night before I go to sleep. But nonetheless, Thomas Tatar is still a fantastic player, very skilled, and I think next year for the Vegas Golden Knights, we will see Thomas Tatar have a bounce back season. So that's going to wrap up the video. I really hope you guys did enjoy. Make sure to let me know down in the comment section who are some players that you think have to bounce back next year in order for their team to be successful. I'm curious to hear what you guys think. With that being said, I hope you enjoyed the video. Please make sure to drop a like on it if you did. Subscribe to the channel for daily NHL content, and I'll see you guys all in the next video.